Hey everybody, welcome back to Three Swords Productions. If you're new to the channel, I am Steven, and this is Giancarlo. Today, we are going to go and do some commentary over Film Kid versus Christmas Luffy.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? Normally I live in Florida, but I'm here today, so I figured let's not waste this opportunity. I just came up for like a little fun, little relaxation, vacation type of deal, but I was like, oh, let's go play One Piece with Steven, and now we're recording videos, so
Yeah?
it's all good. Christmas Luffy, I also refer to this deck as Protect the Princess. I don't know why.
Okay.
Usually, you have your one character card that is your princess. And with Luffy's ability, you get to protect it very well while it attacks for a lot of damage. And then, of course, Film Kid is kind of becoming like the premier aggro deck of the format. The red decks have kind of shifted into like mid-range positions. Zoro is still more aggro. Luffy takes mid-range. Whitebeard takes mid-range. But Kid is just like full aggression, the film version.
Yeah, so Christmas Luffy was a lot of fun to pilot against this Film Kid deck. Not gonna lie, I was a little bit nervous playing against Film Kid because Nami provides a lot of consistency for that deck, and then you have really explosive top end with the 7-drop Luffy or. Yeah,
Seven
it is
drop
Luffy.
Luffy, yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah.
is Luffy, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
My brain thinks it's Law every time. Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just have like explosive top end, and then you have like consistency. And Nami being a 5K, a 5K body on a searcher is not light.
Yeah.
That's a heavy play there. And then you can play Brook, just put it in for free basically. And if you have an
Exactly,
extra
yeah.
Dawn, you're gonna add a card to your hand
Yeah.
with card selection too. It's very kind of impressive.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, being so you, of course, we'll get to Nami, I'm sure, when it's played during the game, but it's on play and when it attacks. So
Yeah.
you're pretty much, as long as you have the Don, you're pretty much guaranteed to get the value out of it immediately, and then getting like one more card out of value the next turn when it attacks. So like you said, yeah, very strong. Here we have a Bonnie. I actually like this usage of Bonnie here. You don't have to value it as highly as you did in the old kid strategy. You just kind of want it to find a body, and then it can just block the attack, basically.
Yeah, it's not quite as important to get recurring advantage, and also you're not relying on the 5-drop Law in order to like get value out of it. So you're not trying to swap it out for Okiko or anything like that in this deck. So you really can't just let it go on turn one
Yeah.
and just pseudo blocker.
Yeah, and here's the Nami, and of course, so we're
Ooh.
paying 3, but then we're paying an additional 1 to use its on-play effect, search, and grab a film card.
Important, Luffy plays out Nico Robin, so the Nami actually is going to get around that as well,
Mhm.
unless we see some sort of Otama effect, which is in the hand.
And
And
there we go. We have Brooke.
Nami adding Brook is a reversal of roles.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very strong. You have so much. This play creates a bunch of tempo.
Right, and you
Yeah.
know that I could clear the Nami, but again, next turn, like Brook is going to come down. It's going to repeat the process. We're going to see it again. Now, Luffy's going to untap with 5 here, and I think Otama is going to be part of the plan. What do you think?
Um,
We're also holding jet pistols.
is
so
that a 5-drop vanilla? Yeah, 5-drop vanilla Frankie. I
That-
think I mean, I feel like you kind of just want to play it. One of the ways you can like mitigate, if you just jet pistol here, or if you Otama here,
Mhm.
like you said, like they can just play Brook and reestablish a pretty decently sized board. So what you actually want to do is play cards that also establish your board.
Yes.
You have Nico Robin, which can handle blockers, and then if you have that 5/7 Frankie, it's a big presence that can just attack this Nami very well. It can attack a Brook very well, and so on and so forth.
Yep. So, I mean, exactly like you said, we're going to play out the Frankie here. And, that does mean that Nami's going to get to swing. It's going to get to add another card in hand. But one thing that means is that Nami's going to want to tap one of Kid's Dawn this turn. And if they, we saw them add Brook to their hand. If they're looking to Brook, then that's going to also kind of tap them out. This is going to be a very low energy turn for the Kid player, which means that, hey, last turn was the turn to establish Frankie and start pressuring the Nami back on that swing. And we're still holding Otama. So the Nico Robin line is still available, and we didn't need to tap it that turn, so it's going to be safe.
Exactly.
So we've
yeah.
got all the same goodies going on. The next turn, as we have this turn, this is the perfect time to establish Frankie.
Yep, exactly. I agree. And now, like you said, it is a low Dawn turn for Kid because most of its Dawn is theoretically accounted for between Nami's effect and playing Brook. But at the same time, that is great tempo. Here we have Nami's effect to add a card to hand, and then you can just add a card that you're going to end up playing off of Brook. Instead, we're going with a Chopper here. Now, generally this chopper is not a card you're like playing. It's just a 2K, right? And
Yep.
you know we love searchable 2Ks. Oh, we got a jet pistol off the life.
Attack and jet pistol
There
is
we
the
go.
tempo that we really, really need to see.
Yeah, and
And
now
a radical beam added to hand as well.
there we go. Here we have the Christmas Luffy going down to 1 life. It is a little scary. The fact that you're playing radical beam makes it less scary.
Exactly. So this deck has everything good going on, right?
It does. Yeah.
It's really utilizing the red in order to add all those defensive events to your hand, which feel really powerful going against like the late game here, where we can, our kid opponent is trying to like whittle you down, but cards like Radical Beam say, hey, that's just not going to happen.
Exactly. And here we have. We have jet pistol. We can clear a pretty big hole in the board. We can just get rid of the opponent, the kid player's Beige with our Robin effect. We can jet pistol the Brook. We can even Otama the Usopp or the Brook here, it seems. So we have a ton of plays here.
Yes, and we're going to come across for 5K on 5K on Kid, take out the Brook. Now, Brook going down represents quite almost nothing. It's just it's Brook versus the Usopp here. We also have the ability to remove the Capone if we'd like, but Capone is going to remove itself. We don't really need to like destroy that with Nico Robin's
I do
effect.
agree. Yeah, blockers will inherently remove themselves from the board.
Exactly.
It's not super pressing to remove them.
Yes.
Sometimes it is, but like in this scenario,
there's a lot of moments where you look at the blockers and you say, hey, that's stopping me from doing what I want right now. Fortunately for me right now, we're in that stage of the game where what Luffy wants to do is take resources away from Kid, and Capone just cannot stop that. So it doesn't matter if the Capone blocks or if the damage happens or if we remove a character from the table. And so we're going to see Capone block the 7K.
And here we go. And here's a small thing I could comment on. Although the plan is to clear both things, clearing the Brook, I would say is it's better to prioritize clearing the Brook, because if your opponent does play a 5-drop law, they're going to be able to add Brook back to their hand. And although they can't replay it with the law, it does have an effect as well. So again, the plan was to clear both always, because we see the jet pistol leaving one up.
Well, that's exactly why you saw that happen.
Yeah, the
right?
radical beam.
The Otama came down, targeted the Brook. Nico Robin swings, removes the Brook first, and then we're looking at we didn't need to commit extra Don because he just took all the damage without really putting up a fight. So we're looking at extra Don on our side. Is it worth it to jet pistol a 5K? And I think, hey, our board is enormous right now. Let's do that because, our Frankie is the pivotal piece to our plan right now. If he wants to remove Frankie by attacking it, he's probably going to have to rely on the leader ability because we have Capone, and that's a line that puts him, back one entire turn if we're able to counter out. And with one Don open and 1 life, Radical Beam means we're going to counter out.
It means a lot. And here we go. And here's Luffy. Again, it cost a lot, but it is a big tempo swing. This Luffy's a 7K. It's also a blocker, so this turn it'll have, some like dual purpose. And then playing this vanilla, vanilla's no slouch. It's not.
It's a 6K. That's massive.
Exactly. It doesn't necessarily stack up to this Frankie super well, but at the same time, like, it's like playing it for free is huge. Now, our Luffy matches with Frankie very well, and then we got a free play vanilla off of that. And again, both hands are looking like pretty fat here. You're going to get, this is the turn I would say you end up getting a lot of cards out of the
hands are looking fat, and our fingers are looking fatter as we drop our hand on the ground.
Yeah, that'll happen.
All right, so we have quite a bit of lines here. Now, it's important to like really appreciate how powerful that Frankie was when it came down a few turns ago. It's impossible to remove. So it's going to be attacking for a lot, and it's going to enable the Luffy leader ability as well. It's going to actually look quite a bit like Kid's leader ability here.
Yeah.
Okay, he picks up another 2K. Now, his hand is very large right now. Multiple instances of 2Ks. I think we see Izo, 2 Scratchman Apu. That might be it might be 3 2Ks in hand right now.
Well, just a lot of 2Ks, makes attacking difficult because, your opponent has, let's say it looks like an 8-card hand. Having, 3 or 4 2Ks just means like it's going to be very hard to push that damage.
So the Luffy ability is going to be leader ability, since we didn't mention it. Going to be pay 4 Don, untap Supernova or Straw Hat that's cost 5 or less, and also give it 1K power.
Yep. So here we're swinging for 9.
Swinging for a 9K here, and that's going to be a block plus a 2K. And we're going to see one more.
One more.
Okay, and
Using the
Frankie.
Frankie to
All
protect against
right.
Frankie.
Now, consider had he just played that Frankie on the table instead, he might be
Yeah.
in a bit of a different situation. I'm not sure. Um,
No, I like this though. So defensively, Kid's board isn't looking too crazy, and we have triple blocker 2 up, and we know,
yeah.
Luffy has double radical beam in
Now
hand.
that triple blocker, the double blocker turn there from Luffy
Yeah,
was incredibly stressful for Kid.
yeah. We
He
have
does only have two, and I will say that's kind of the power of like of the 7 drop. 7 drop in that deck, right?
mhm,
Is you can just establish a board really fast, and then on the next turn,
yeah,
you've got your 7K, you've got a 6K, and you've got both of your kit attacks for 12K if you'd like.
right.
And that's a lot to defend from, with only 1 life. So it's pretty tough.
Yeah.
And those 1 drop blockers are really what gets around that.
Yeah, I agree. And here we see it's Paradise Tonsuka. I know I'm not saying that right.
Tetsuko, yeah.
Whatever. The Paradise card it excuse me, switches to rest mode one of your opponent's 1 cost, right? So I actually really like that tech choice because it just kind of invalidates 1 blocker.
Yes.
But in the face of 3 blockers, it's like, well, this might get rid of one of them.
It's not gonna look as impressive against 3 blockers. Now
Right.
he can kind of put me in a situation where it does look good if I block out of these
Yeah.
early attacks, and then I really rely on one single blocker at
Yeah.
the end.
I actually like it's really going down to 0 here. It's like sometimes you think why, but the fact that you have 8 again, double radical beam, 3 1-drop blockers, and an 8-drop kit in hand. That I'm assuming the plan is to play it next turn.
Yeah.
It can just it gets like it's cool that you can go down to 0, and then this 8-drop kit is pretty insulated against green especially. There's no Otama Jet Pistol, so like they can really only push through by attacking, and with a lot of blockers plus radical beam, it's going to be really hard to get through that kid.
It's one of those things that I do a lot as a player. Is I like to go down to 0 because then I know all the variables. Like I know what trigger I'm already hit. I know all the cards in my hand, and now I can really calculate. It is a fallacy. I really should value myself at 1 because it gives me like a bubble rate of protection.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I really love going to 0, so we saw that there. I mean, it also protects the future plan, right?
Yeah.
Playing 8-drop out on the table.
Well, there are matchups where it's less safe against red. It's something I would never do. But again, green doesn't.
Diable Jambe plus
Diablo
5-drop
Jambe,
Luffy.
5-drop Luffy, even again Otama Jet Piss. Like there's plenty of options where it's like this kid is not like insulated is the word I would use. But against green, like the only real option that you have is to just attack into it. So it's already huge. And I have blockers, I have radical beams. Like you're definitely gonna block some attacks this turn, but it just comes down to like you can use 1 radical beam here because theoretically the full kid line costs a total of 9 Dawn. So we want to use 1 radical beam here. That way we don't get stuck with an extra one next turn.
That's right. Exactly. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's about like what resources are we going to have available next turn, and
Yep.
knowing, hey, that this costs 9, we'll have 1 more.
Yeah.
We don't need 2 radical beams because the game most likely won't go longer than that.
Here we go, a great Punk Gibson pickup. This is gonna basically invalidate one of those blockers. It doesn't Kid being at 1 life, you probably want to keep that Luffy up. The fact that you have Luffy, Paradise, Tonsuka, and a Punk Gibson. I know I'm saying it horribly. My bad.
Just
but,
getting all the words. BJ.
Yeah, I know. My bad. Okay, and he's playing in BJ. So yeah, Kid is. I wouldn't even say Kid is in a bad spot here. If there was no hypothetical 8-drop from Christmas Luffy, then I would think, oh yeah, Kid is in a fine spot. But the fact that this 8-drop Kid, it's really gonna be.
It's gonna come down. It
harmful
costs,
is the word I would
costs
use.
a lot of
Yeah.
Dawn in order to attack, and then it's really easy to defend.
Yeah.
And you can basically go pretty hard with your leader twice. And if that doesn't
Right.
work, that's your turn.
And I also like that this the Kid player established these Bonnies. It's gonna be hard to kill all of the Bonnies on the field.
Yeah.
You can. He has the Luffy blocker. He has Paradise Waterfall. He has Punk Gibson. It's not going to be the easiest thing in the world to clear these Bonnies. They're going to generate a little more advantage for them next turn as well.
Right. Yeah. No. It will be easy to defend them. You also have a 7K blocker on the table, as well as your own Capone.
Yeah.
So if you want to get in front of the Frankie, you can do that. If you want to get in front of the leader, you can do that too.
Mm-hmm. Jet Pistol, I will say, not a great pickup here. You can't counter with it, and it feels like by going down to 0, you committed to the Kid play. So by changing up and going to the pistol play here, you kind of open yourself up to I wouldn't call it a punt, but you kind of open yourself up to some danger. Like, if this Luffy survives, we know at least one of our Valor, or one of our blockers is invalidated to the Punt Gibson. Our opponent can just like rest with various cards, Ezo, Cat, Viper. There's a ton of possibilities that this deck could be playing, and then that leader effect can just get in there for as much as it can. So we've already committed to the 8-drop kid play, so it kind of feels like we have to do that here. So pistol, it looks like Steven, looks like you're the one playing, right? So it looks
I'm
like
playing
it's
Law, yeah.
that
Or I'm
pistol,
playing Luffy, sorry.
Luffy. It's creating doubt in your mind. Like you had this 8-drop kid play,
Yes.
and now pistol is tempting you into going with another play line.
Well,
Like, it's a
because
little
you look at
scary.
Luffy and you have to say like, all right, how much damage can I do with this Luffy leader ability,
Yeah.
right? And the answer is of course not as much as you would think because it does cost 4.
Yeah.
So if you want to get a lot of value, you need at least one Don on the Frankie to
Yep.
make it a 9K.
Mhm.
So that's 5, and the Jet Pistol is 1. So then you're left with one Don again, and you're
Right.
thinking, can I protect myself with a single Radical Beam on the next turn?
Yeah.
So I think we make the very easy attack of 7K, get the Punk Gibson out of his hand. Now we
Yeah.
make sure he actually commits to that line, and now we get to choose what we're gonna do.
We're swinging with lead here. I would.
This is most likely going at Joribani.
Yeah, I think you let one of the Bonnies die. You can block with leader, but it opens up. I mean, not block with leader. You can block with Luffy here. This is a free block,
Yeah.
but now your
I think
Luffy is open up to
I think
the.
he smelled kid in the water.
Yeah.
Because it does open you up for a lot of damage, some violence. Because I still have all my Dawn open, and you're tapped out at this point.
Yeah.
So you're leaning on your 2Ks in hand, which you do have quite a bit, but you're also at 1 life, so it can be rough.
It can be. Yep. So here we go. Yeah, 8-drop kid. We have our opponent. The Luffy player has one Dawn up. Basically signaling one Radical Beam. Like that's how I would approach the turn. Even if I don't know for sure that they have it,
Yeah.
that's still kind of how you want to approach the turn. Of like, okay, he has one Radical Beam and 2 blocker available. Like, how do I approach this? I also have double Bonnie.
You know what's interesting about the
Yeah.
double Bonnie?
What?
Is that is 2 Dawn that he's going to need to tap. And that's 2 less resources for him getting through my 8-drop. And when I untap, I have a 9K body coming
9K
across
attacker,
and a
yeah.
Frankie that's going to get to attack twice for 9K
Yeah.
release.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of violence coming his way, and tapping or spending 2 resources for the Jory Bonnies,
Yeah.
not the most amazing thing.
No, I agree. It comes down to the question of like, how it's just like, man, how can I really kill? Can I really kill this kid through all of
Yeah.
this? Like, he does have answers. He has the answers for the blockers.
Well, he has an answer for 1 blocker. Unfortunately, there are still 2 on the table.
Yeah.
And the Paradise Tetsuka not going to do exactly what you think it will.
Yeah.
Because tapping 1 blocker isn't quite enough,
Yeah.
especially with Radical Beam in your opponent's hand.
Yeah. He does have Ezo. Again, it's hard for him to play Ezo. He'd have to knock off one of his Bonnies.
Exactly.
Which is but Ezo also costs 3, so it's just 3 more Dawn. That,
Exactly. Yeah.
you know.
He's kind of in a resource exchange versus
Yeah.
the Luffy here, and the Luffy. Unfortunately, the Luffy, that Frankie was high value.
Yeah, this Frankie is like, again, we see like.
It's about creating. So when you play the 8-drop kid, it's
Yeah.
about creating spacing for you and your opponent, right? If they're all in your face, you can't play the 8-drop kid.
Yeah.
You need to wedge some space there. And that 5-drop was exactly the body that needed to happen because you can pressure, and your opponent has to always think about how am I being pressured in return. And a 7K body that can be untapped and become a 9K is exactly the pressure that you need to say, like, I need some space, right?
It's really, I mean, it kind of just reminds me of set 1. These are 2 set 1 decks, even though they've adapted quite a bit. If you put enough big bodies in the green mirror, like, you win. Like, we always joked around. We called it a kaiju fight. Like, you're facing down an 8K and a 7K, and although, yeah, you do have a 6 and a 7 yourself, but it's like you're not in the position to regress. So it's like that Frankie coming down is just like, oh, it's so much bigger. And the cool thing is that, like, as red, you got, like, some pretty choice jet pistols throughout this game to clear board. Like, it was like a nice Robin Otama play, stuff like that. Was, it made it like pretty easy for you to keep the board relatively clear. So we see one of the advantages of the red-green leader in a way that we don't normally see it, because not a lot of people play this Christmas Luffy deck.
But when you're looking at, how can I ramp up the kid mirror match?
Yeah.
Saying like, okay, well, just putting red cards in my deck helps, right?
Exactly.
Now, to note, of course, there was a jet pistol off of life that took out
Yeah,
the
that
Nami.
was huge.
That
Yeah.
was massive. But also, what's interesting about the Film Kid deck is the punch that it packed. I should have easily playing the Luffy. I should have easily been able to keep the board the entire game because every turn I'm clearing, 2 to 3 characters.
Yeah.
But every turn on his side, he's playing 2 to 3 characters,
Right,
right? Like,
yeah.
and they're not light characters at all. Like he's
Yeah.
pay 7 Don for the 7K. Well, okay, well it also put a 6K into play.
It can get out of control very quickly if
Yeah.
you don't have great. That's one of the reasons, not to get too off topic, but like the blue Doflamingo can struggle against this deck simply because the board can get out of control way too quickly.
And here we're finally going to see that Tetsuga come down.
No.
1 Don is tapped, and Capone is going to bite it. So he's going to go sideways, clearing up space for possibly a big leader swing. Our Zoro's going to want to come across the table probably first. But now we're looking at 9 Don, and 4 of it's going to come down.
I feel like we just put it all on our leader. I don't feel like there's a reason to put any on
We're going
Zoro.
leader.
This would be at 11,
He
right?
heard you. He heard you through the phone.
This is 6 on, so it would be 11.
You and Soldier Boy. Okay, and we're going to come across the table. I believe that's an 11K.
You know what's crazy about 11? One Radical Beam gets out.
One Radical Beam gets out. Now we do
I like
choose
this
to block.
though. So the block is like bait. If you just Radical Beam,
The block is commit to it.
yeah, now he's being forced to commit to this play. Like, oh, he used his last blocker. Now, okay.
What's
See what I'm
interesting
saying?
here?
Yeah.
He's now he has 2 blockers on the table.
Yeah.
It is not going to be a free kill on this kid.
Yeah.
We might see another kid turn.
Yeah.
Okay, so but yeah, you're right. The Radical Beam being held for the second attack makes him commit to it. Now he doesn't have enough Don to get his 7K blocker up to 8K to attack. And certainly the 6K Zoro is not going to be able to attack.
And see,
pick up a
now
third jet pistol
we have room for this jet pistol. Now we have room. Okay, this Zoro can go down. We can use our leader ability. We can obviously equip one to the 8-drop. And the kid player, he put in like a lot of work to try to invalidate these blockers, and now he wasn't able to actually clear them. He was just able to get them out. We're going
Otama jet pistol going to come down, clear the 7K.
Interesting.
And now we've got Capone left on the table. And Capone going to self-destruct again.
I'm not gonna lie, I feel like I don't actually like the Otama there.
I think it's insurance, so that we can just get around. Like even if we don't kill you, you don't have the 7K to attack me back with.
I think, not to be too critical, I think I would have just done it last. So.
Oh, no shot, because we want every attack to get a card out of his hand.
Yeah.
And now we're going to be able to do this 5K swing, which is going to have to get 1 card out of his hand.
But you're attacking with. Yeah, I like how you took it back. No, I have to use my leader ability. Which the leader ability is better. Here we're all of our attacks, right? It's
two cards out.
It's 7, 8, 9, right? So I think you just wait and then you do it last because there's a chance that he blocks with it and it dies, and then you can just pistol the Zoro.
Right, but I think
keeping Otama in
I
hand
was
as a
trying to
2K.
be very aggressive. I'm still pretty confident in the cards in my hand.
Yeah.
And we're still holding 2K power in our hand right now.
Yeah.
So he's gonna have to try pretty hard. We have 2 blockers. So yeah, I think we just want cards out of his hand. We want to invalidate his attacks on me on the next turn, and then we want to try and send in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 2 Don coming down.
Just choosing a Bonnie.
We're going to go for the Bonnie.
We can find a 2K. Looks like there's a 2K right on the top there. Yep.
And we're going to take that.
5-drop law. Would it be cool? Not this turn. I think you just hit the 2K, right, for the counter power?
We're taking the 2K, yeah. So we are going to take the 2K here. We're going to say, hey, it's very difficult for you. You have 1 card in hand.
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty hard for you to take care of my 8-drop here. You're basically committed to leader swing. And for that, we just have 2 blockers, and then on the following turn, you have 1 card left.
Yeah.
Potentially 2 more with the Bonnies, but if you do go for the Bonnie line, then of course I can probably just counter out and even keep one of my blockers if I want.
So okay, so let's see. If we equip 3 Don to our leader, we only have to make it 8K. We actually don't have to make it that crazy, because you only have 2 cards in hand. You have 2 blockers. Whether it's like, I don't think we have to make it like huge. You know what I mean? We don't have to make it 10K in my opinion.
It depends what your goal is. Is your goal to take out the blockers or the cards in my hand?
Yeah.
Right.
I think it accomplishes it either way. You see what I'm saying? Like.
Well, no, because if it's bigger than the cards in my hand, then I have to block with a blocker.
Mm-hmm.
If it's smaller than the cards in my hand, then I just counter out and I keep my blockers.
Yeah.
So it's like, which goal do you want to hit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that comes down to like, does your plan involve these Bonnies or not?
Okay, so it looks like he's going, is that 5? So it looks like he is going 10.
10 on this.
Yeah.
I like that. It's basically, you know, a 2K and a 1K in my hand.
Yeah.
Exactly get out. All right, and we are going to go 8K here. Okay. Tap the Bonnie. Chose not to go for the second leader swing.
Yeah. So you do the first Bonnie to see if you can get a pistol. I mean, not a pistol, but a Paradise. Oh my goodness,
Radical
my
Beam?
bad. No, Punk Gibson. Jeez, my bad.
Punk Gibson out of the Luffy deck.
No,
I think
I'm saying I'm saying you tap the first Bonnie. He
I
played
thought
in a way
I
that
thought
left.
you were. Yeah. It left 2 Don open.
I really misspoke the whole time. So it looks like he played in a way where he was purposely leaving 2 Don up in case he got a Punk Gibson. But it looks like there was a Punk Gibson there.
Yeah,
but it looks like he chose not to take it.
He looked at it, decided it wasn't going to be good enough.
Okay, he has a Beige. He can get it 1 blocker. Looks
Yep.
like that's the snap choice. Yeah, for that
Yep.
one last Don there.
Capone there, and he's deciding which of these 4 cards need to go on the top of the stack of 4, and then realizing we're not going to get there.
My bad. I fumbled that sentence.
It's okay. I didn't know where you were going with that, but that's we got there in the
My
end.
fault. Yeah, obviously just not in a good position. It's going to be pretty easy. I mean, you just end up going for game here, right? I think you just ignore the Zoro. And
yeah, we have quite a bit of damage coming across.
yeah.
This is the second turn now of attacking with this 8-drop kid.
Yep.
Like, it is looking rough. At this point, 9K comes across. You go, well,
Yeah.
that's either my entire hand or my only blocker, and that's not a great place to be.
So this pretty easily eats the blocker, right? No, okay.
Okay, takes the damage.
I don't like that take. I'm not gonna lie, I don't like it. It just allows Frankie to come in for too much.
Well, Frankie was definitely going to come across for too much already. So we're going to go 3 9K attacks here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
And the reason we do 3 9K attacks there is, of course, because that's not the stinger that I thought I'd set up, but it doesn't matter. The reason we do 3 9K attacks there is because the blocker, if you go 2 big air attacks, then the blocker effectively eats one of them, but if you go 3 smaller ones, he can only block one of the smaller ones. So, but it all represents the same amount of damage coming to face. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. That was a really fun game to play.
That was,
Luffy was awesome.
Christmas Luffy, yeah, really shined. I mean, we just saw.
Yeah.
Not to be too much of a hater, right? We don't really see that deck performing very well, but in this game, we saw it performing like exactly how you want to.
This might be the most ideal setting for that Christmas Luffy.
Yeah, it really was. Like we saw the benefits of red are like Radical Beam, Jet Pistol, Otama, Nico Robin even, and then the benefits of green are like really just a Frankie, right? I mean, green didn't really carry you that hard that game.
No, it didn't.
What's cool? Well,
8-drop kid was certainly
8-drop kid was huge.
I would say 8-drop kid.
So the red
game.
The red. What's important about the Frankie is that it's a straw hat. Christmas Luffy only untaps a worst gen or straw hat. So you end up having to play the Frankie because the red one is King Do. It's a Whitebeard. It's not a straw hat pirate. So Frankie does actually put in a lot of work in that matchup.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Frankie felt really, really powerful there. And a 5 cost 7K was exactly what I needed to pressure like everything my opponent put on the table. So
yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. If you're still watching, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and we will see you in the next one. Thanks.